I saw you come here.
You did. He saw you too.
Where are we going today?
Oh, just anywhere away from here.
Just to make you all aware, we're going to be dispersing you from the theatre. One of my escorts will take you down. I'll be using the Deck 5 gangway. When you go down onto the pier, the buses are right outside. If I can ask A1 to please stand up and just continue the line down for me. That's A1.
Disembarkation for the afternoon excursion at Torshavn went smoothly. I joined a new group of Faroe Island visitors, and we have a new tour guide. On this trip, we anticipated to hear more of historical views of the Torshavn and the islands surrounding the Faroe Islands, which are part of Denmark.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to the Faroe Islands, to this rainy place. Robert, our chauffeur, and myself, Zacharias, just call me Zax for short, wish you a very welcome with us, and we are going to visit one or two places in town. We're going to the National Museum and then to the Nordic or the Scandinavian House, and then we are also going for a walk. Doesn't look very promising for walking, but we will try our best and hope that the weather doesn't get worse.
Slowly but surely, Zacharias gave us some hints of where we were headed to for this excursion. But first, we would learn some historical and island information along the way to start things out.
And the Faroe Islands were occupied by the British during the Second World War, and the naval authorities had this fort as their headquarters.
Passing the treeless outskirts of Torshavn, we first headed to the National Museum. And this view on this cloudy day is one side of the island that we haven't seen during our morning tour.
And then the West Island, Vagar, where the airport is joined.
The surrounding view looks very peaceful, and it seems like an ideal place to stay, to get away from the city life.
The current between the islands is very, very strong indeed. You have to be a good sailor when you sail among the islands. Now we stop here for 50 minutes. The whole tour is 3.5 hours.
Inside the museum, we were pretty much on our own, free to browse anywhere and minding our limited time for the visit. Exhibited in the Faroe Islands National Museum were items which tell the history of Faroe Islands. There are photographs and artifacts on display that are used to give visitors a picture of how life on the Faroe Islands was lived over the centuries. Some of them look familiar to most of us, and the others, we have to read the notes that accompany them.
Are you familiar with the Torshavn? Of course, the threads are brought off.
The other items that I find interesting are the generations of Faroese festival clothing. In the basement, there is a collection of Faroese boats and fishing memorabilia.
You can see that the blade is nearly as narrow as the handle of the oar. Prior to World War II, if we go back just that far in history, we find that transportation in the islands was primarily by boat. The 10-man, 12-man, 14-man boats were used for transporting cargo and people. And here in the end you see a seat, maybe for the priest, and a place to put things. Now, a lot of you are from North America, And you're not the first North American to visit here, but very, very important. If you
This presentation concluded our short visit to the National Museum. And in the end, I think I gained a bit of knowledge about the history and culture of the Faroese people.
Now from here we go to the Nordic House, the Scandinavian house. So I will point out one or two things as we go.
Can you explain about the sod roofs?
The grass on the roofs, yeah. That's one of the first questions foreigners ask. This is the traditional or old way of building in the Faroes with grass roofs. They cut a piece of earth with about 10 centimeters thick with grass on top into squares, and then they bring it up to the roof, and then it grows together. There's very strong, good roofing, and even in modern buildings you can see the grass roof. I think it's mainly for the sake of the tradition they do it. It is very good for insulation. You don't hear the rain falling or storms or wind. They last a long time, and that could last, say, about 20 or 30 years at least. Now, this is the Scandinavian house, or the Nordic house that we are going to visit. We'll be visiting here for half an hour. So we will go in and have a look, and please feel free to ask questions. Answers are up.
Said to be the most interesting building in the Faroe Islands, this Nordic House Cultural Center provides a forum for Faroese and Nordic art, including concerts, theater, dance performances, and art exhibitions. The house is built according to Nordic traditions. Architects blended woods from Sweden, tiles from Norway, furnishings from Finland, construction materials from Denmark and Iceland, and top it with Faroese turf roof to create a most dramatic center. In front of the center is a mini copy of England's famous Stonehenge, a nice overlook view of our ship, and across the street are colorful residential buildings in town. Leaving the Nordic Center, we saw more of the structure's grassy outside view, and then it was time to move on for our next stop.
This area on our right-hand side is the sports area. The black building here is an indoor heated swimming pool, and the building on top of the hill there is an indoor sports hall. They both play soccer and handball, various sports there, and they also use it for concerts and so on. It takes about 12 to 1500 people. And then on our right-hand side is the soccer area. You can see it there on the right-hand side, the football field and some other sports hall.
As we started covering the other pride of Torshavn, one thing we won't have time for was to go shopping.
On our right-hand side is the main shopping area in the town.
While in town, we caught sight of the Torshavn Cathedral, some business section, and soon the marina.
This is the marina, Torshavn. There is a shipyard there, a fish factory further to the left, some old shops, and in Torshavn, if you have money, you can get everything that you want.
We got off the bus by the marina, walked up the hill, and later stopped when some of us started asking questions.
The White House.
The White House.
What is this? Looking at?
Yeah, the White House is the Parliament's building. Also the glass building behind it, offices of the government.
How often does he get elected? How often does he?
4 years.
Every 4 years.
Every 4 years.
And for a while, poor Zacharias was bombarded with plenty of political questions.
So you belong to Denmark, but you have your independent government?
Yes. Our local government decides internal affairs, whereas Denmark decides external affairs.
But you're working very hard for independence, aren't you?
It took someone to change the subject back to finding out what the other landmarks were around us.
An old school, but now it's turned into the town hall. Yeah.
So what's
The
the
local-
building with the clock that we just passed?
That was the Lutheran Church.
That's a church?
Yeah, that's a church. It's quite a nice building with the rocks, you know.
Walking through the narrow streets of Torshavn, we found ourselves in the middle of these turf-roof red buildings.
You see, the buildings here, as you see, are very old. Actually, they are 800 years old, these buildings, or this building here. And all these buildings are quite old. And all this area here belongs to the government, and these houses here are the offices of our parliament. Oh.
This is all interesting, but one building stood out, and someone had noticed.
Why are the walls black?
The black,
Why are they?
well, it is painted with tar, you know, and this is what has been done to them for centuries. They have been painted with tar in order to keep, and they still do.
So it's for weatherproofing.
For weatherproofing, yes.
With that last question and answer moment, we continued on to walk back to the marina, where we had a full view of our ship docked at the pier. It was still cloudy, but we were glad that the weather had not ruined our excursion here in Torshavn. After taking a few more pictures, we boarded our bus to head back to the ship for our embarkation.
I believe that you are the last visitors in the Faroes this summer. This is the last ship to come. We have had perhaps about 30 ships visiting us this summer. It's been quite a busy time.
And another good day of tour at Torshavn in the Faroe Islands of Denmark.
So now the chauffeur, Robert, and I want to thank you very much for this afternoon, for the time we had together on the bus and walking. Well, we hope that you are coming back another time. So we wish you a good journey back to Iceland, Greenland, Newfoundland, wherever you go. So thank you very much. God bless.
Once we've completed our swing, we'll then start to head southeasterly initially, and then once ahead of the mainland we will alter our course to starboard, and then we follow a northwesterly course across the island Faroe Rise, as we call it. And we expect to make landfall off the east coast of Iceland at about 4 o'clock tomorrow afternoon, and then we'll continue trekking up the coast towards the northeast point of Iceland. Anyway, I wish you all a very pleasant evening, and I'll just make a quick announcement today.